Have you ever noticed that the loudest people are usually the weakest? The ones who pound their chests, who raise their voices to fill the silence, who mistake volume for authority. I used to be one of them. I thought if I spoke louder, moved faster, and acted tougher, people would believe I was strong. But deep down, I was terrified of being overlooked, of being small, of being exposed. The truth is, most people aren't loud because they're powerful. They're loud because they're afraid. They try to dominate rooms they don't feel they belong in. They raise their voices not to command respect, but to drown out their own insecurity. That's why Machiavelli's words hit me like a blade through fog. Power doesn't shout, it observes. Look around. The ones who truly hold power, real power, don't need to prove it. They don't react to every challenge. They don't chase validation. Their silence speaks louder than any roar, because silence unnerves the weak. It reveals who's desperate for attention and who's in control. Modern men have forgotten this. We've been told to perform strength, not to build it. We confuse intimidation with influence, noise with presence. But Machiavelli understood something deeper. Power isn't in the act of domination, it's in the discipline of restraint. True control doesn't announce itself, it simply is. So tonight, as you listen to this, I want you to ask yourself, are you powerful or just loud? Because one of them builds empires and the other destroys them. If that question stirred something in you, stay until the end of this video. What you're about to hear might change the way you think about strength forever. I'll break down what Machiavelli truly meant by silent power, why loud toughness is a mask for fear, and how you can reclaim your authority without saying a word. Before we go deeper, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and like this video, so you'll be the first to know when I drop the next piece in this series. Because what you'll learn here isn't motivation, it's a transformation. I used to think the louder I was, the stronger I'd appear. If I spoke first, moved fast, and kept my tone sharp, people would believe I had control. I thought dominance was something you performed. But the truth? Loudness isn't power. It's panic wearing confidence like a costume. We live in a world addicted to appearances. Everyone's performing strength. The louder the voice, the tougher the pose, the more fragile the person usually is behind it. Social media thrives on this illusion. People shouting their opinions, flexing their lifestyles, desperate to look powerful. But when the noise stops, the silence exposes what's real: insecurity. You see it everywhere. The boss who yells to feel respected, the influencer who screams confidence into a camera while their eyes reveal exhaustion, the friend who always needs the last word. They're not leading, they're defending. Because deep down, they know silence would unmask them. Psychologists call it overcompensation. When the ego feels small, it builds noise around itself. When it feels unseen, it demands attention. When it feels unworthy, it performs superiority. The result is what I call the illusion of toughness, a frantic effort to hide fear by imitating strength. I know this because I lived it. I used to raise my voice to prove I was certain. I'd argue endlessly just to avoid feeling small. Every confrontation became a stage play where I acted unbreakable while falling apart inside. But no matter how loud I became, I could never silence that quiet voice whispering, "You're afraid." The louder I tried to sound, the more hollow I became. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. It's calm, it's deliberate. It's the man who watches more than he speaks, who moves only when necessary. The one everyone senses but no one can predict. Look around. The bullies at work, the loud alphas online, they all rely on reaction. Their power exists only when someone responds. Ignore them and they collapse. Their energy feeds on attention, and silence starves them. That's why Machiavelli warned leaders never to mistake performance for control. The moment you have to shout to be respected, you've already lost respect. In psychology, this is called fragile dominance, a false power structure built entirely on validation. It looks intimidating, but it cracks under pressure. It's the boss who panics when challenged, the public figure who lashes out when criticized, the partner who argues just to feel in control. Loudness becomes a shield, a way to hide fear of inadequacy. I once believed that being louder meant being stronger. But I've learned that noise doesn't build respect, it drains it. Because when you shout, people hear your words. When you're calm, they feel your presence. And presence is something you can't fake. Noise fades, calm endures. So why do we fall for the illusion? Because society rewards it. We're taught to chase attention, to be visible, to dominate the room. But real power doesn't chase anything. It attracts. It doesn't need a crowd. It commands silence. That's what Machiavelli understood. The strongest rulers didn't speak the most. They spoke last, and only when necessary. Loud toughness is a disguise. It hides a fragile ego terrified of being unseen. True toughness is quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to perform, doesn't need to convince, doesn't need to win every argument. It's the calm certainty of someone who knows who they are, and therefore doesn't need to prove it. I've learned that every time you try to prove your worth through noise, you give your power away. Because in that moment, you're no longer leading, you're reacting. And reaction is weakness disguised as strength. So maybe it's time to stop performing. Maybe it's time to let silence do what noise never could. Command respect without demanding it. Ask yourself this: have you ever mistaken being loud for being strong? Have you ever tried to prove yourself only to feel emptier after? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. Because awareness, real, raw awareness, is the first step to taking your power back. When I first read The Prince, I expected a manual on manipulation, a guide for the ruthless. But I was wrong. Machiavelli wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was describing reality. He was dissecting power as it truly works in human nature. And what I discovered changed me. Real power is never loud. It's controlled, deliberate, and frighteningly calm. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Most people misunderstand that. They think he meant to inspire fear through aggression, but what he really meant was this: be respected through self-command. Fear, in Machiavelli's view, is not terror. It's recognition of strength. And strength doesn't scream, it observes. Loud power is impulsive. It lives off reaction. It burns hot and fast, then fades. Strategic power, on the other hand, is patient. It doesn't announce itself. It positions itself. It moves quietly, and when it acts, it's already too late for anyone to stop it. Think about it. The people who hold real influence rarely shout. They don't waste words defending themselves. Elon Musk doesn't argue on every criticism. He executes. Marcus Aurelius, leading Rome through chaos, didn't assert control through threats. He led through composure. The calmest man in the room always holds the most control. When I was younger, I thought confidence meant speaking first, being decisive, and never backing down. But over time, I noticed something strange. The people who truly commanded respect were never the ones talking the most. They were the ones listening. They didn't need to prove themselves because they already knew who they were. Loud power is built on insecurity. It depends on attention to survive. The moment people stop reacting, it collapses. But Machiavellian power, strategic power, is self-sufficient. It thrives in silence. It waits. It studies. It anticipates. It is not by shouting louder, but by understanding deeper. That's what Machiavelli was teaching. Control isn't about domination. It's about discipline. The ruler who loses his temper loses his throne. The leader who reacts emotionally becomes a puppet of others' provocations. Power doesn't belong to the one who moves first. It belongs to the one who decides when to move. I learned that the hard way. I used to react to everything, to every insult, every challenge, every attempt to test me. I thought silence meant surrender. But the more I reacted, the weaker I became. People learned exactly how to control me, provoke me, and I'd lose focus. When I finally stopped reacting, when I learned to wait, everything changed. People spoke differently. They started to hesitate. My silence became unsettling. Because silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is power. When others can't predict you, they start to respect you or fear you. Either way, you win. That's what Machiavelli meant by control. He wasn't celebrating deceit. He was revealing that power lies in mastery of perception, the ability to appear calm while you calculate, to let others speak until they reveal their weakness, to know the right moment to act and when that moment comes, to strike with precision. Loud power is fragile. It depends on noise. Strategic power is stable because it's rooted in awareness. One relies on chaos, the other creates order. One tries to prove control, the other already has it. The modern world doesn't understand this. We're conditioned to equate visibility with influence, to think that constant talking equals leadership. But the truth is, the most powerful figures in history were masters of restraint. They knew that silence isn't the absence of action, it's the preparation for it. And once you grasp this, something shifts inside you. You stop wasting energy proving your worth. You stop chasing validation. You start thinking strategically. You speak less, but every word lands harder. You act less, but every action changes something. That's Machiavellian power, not manipulation, but mastery. So I'll ask you this. When conflict comes, do you react or observe? Do you shout or do you calculate? Because that choice determines everything. One path keeps you trapped in noise. The other turns you into the kind of person people can read, but can ignore either. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me the moment you realized control comes not from reaction, but from restraint. I read every comment. Your story might be the reflection someone else needs to hear. There's a reason silence feels heavier than words when it comes from someone in control. It isn't emptiness, it's pressure. It forces the other person to fill the void, to reveal themselves, to lose balance. That isn't coincidence, it's psychology. Machiavelli understood this centuries before modern science did. He knew that whoever can master their own emotions ends up mastering everyone else's. Freud would later echo this truth. The one who controls himself controls others. Because most people can't stand the discomfort of uncertainty. When you stay silent, they start to project, to panic, to fill in the blanks. Your stillness becomes their mirror, and what they see often scares them. Neuroscience explains this as emotional regulation, the ability to remain composed when the body wants to explode. When you react impulsively, your brain's fear center, the amygdala, takes control. You become predictable, easy to manipulate. But when you stay calm, when your breathing steadies and your tone stays low, you trigger a primitive instinct in others. They sense authority. Calmness signals dominance more powerfully than aggression ever could. Think of the lion. He doesn't roar to prove he's a lion. His stillness is enough. Every movement is deliberate. Every pause has meaning. That's silent power. Strength so centered that it doesn't need validation. I had to learn that the hard way. I used to react to everything: criticism, disrespect, confrontation. I thought silence was weakness, but each reaction drained me. I gave away control every time I spoke out of emotion. When I finally learned to wait, to breathe, to observe instead of attack, I realized something. Silence isn't submission, it's strategy. Psychologists call this projection. When people can't handle their own emotions, they try to make you feel them instead. They provoke you, so you'll carry their chaos. The moment you react, you've accepted their burden. But if you remain calm, that energy bounces back. They're left to face their own noise. And nothing frightens people more than their own reflection. That's why silence is unsettling. It forces awareness. It removes the distraction of words and replaces it with presence. And presence, real, grounded presence, is rare. Most people mistake motion for strength. They think speaking first means leading. But true leaders know that timing is everything. Silence isn't absence, it's preparation. In neuroscience, this is known as low reactivity, a biological signal of confidence. When your nervous system doesn't flinch, others subconsciously recognize stability. That's why the calm person controls the room. Everyone else is sinking to their rhythm. Your steadiness becomes gravity. Machiavelli would have called this the art of restraint. He knew power was never about domination. It was about perception. When others see that you cannot be provoked, they begin to adjust themselves around you. They start negotiating on your terms. Silence makes them cautious because they no longer know what you'll do next. But silence only works when it's built on conviction. If you're quiet because you're afraid, people will sense that too. True silence, the kind that commands attention, comes from confidence. It's not a mask. It's an awareness that you don't need to prove anything. Your calm is not empty. It's full of intent. The modern world misunderstands this. We've been taught to equate visibility with influence, noise with importance. But the more you need to be seen, the weaker you become. Because desperation is loud, strength, real strength, is quiet. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Don't rush to speak. Watch them. Listen not to their words, but to what their anxiety is revealing. The longer you wait, the more they'll expose. The less you react, the more control you gain. This is the essence of silent power. It's not passive. It's precise. It's choosing to let others waste their energy while you conserve yours. It's patience, disguised as mystery. And when you finally act, your timing cuts deeper than any shout ever could. The strongest presence in any room isn't the one demanding attention. It's the one that makes everyone else go quiet. Have you ever felt that kind of power? The moment when your silence changed the dynamic completely? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone, because your stillness might be the reminder someone else needs to finally find theirs. Silence sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest forms of discipline. It goes against everything we've been taught: to respond fast, to defend ourselves, to never let anyone win the moment. But once you understand the true psychology of power, you realize silence isn't losing, it's loading. When I started practicing it, I failed miserably. I mistook silence for suppression, for holding my breath while anger boiled underneath. That's not control, that's tension waiting to explode. Real silence is not about holding your words, it's about mastering your energy. It's the calm awareness that you don't need to prove anything. You're not hiding, you're choosing. Machiavelli believed that control begins long before confrontation. The battle is won in your composure, not your reaction. And he was right, because the one who reacts first always loses the upper hand. To cultivate true silent power, you must train your mind to pause where others panic. Here's how. First principle, control your reactions. Every reaction reveals a weakness. It shows where someone can manipulate you, how they can pull your strings. If you want to become unshakable, start by watching your triggers. Notice when you feel the need to respond, defend, or prove something. That's the ego begging for attention. Don't obey it. Breathe. Wait. Let the moment pass. The silence between their words and your response, that's where your strength grows. When you stop reacting, people reveal themselves. Their impatience becomes visible. Their need for control starts to tremble. They'll talk faster, get louder, lose coherence. Because your calmness robs them of oxygen. Every second you don't react is a second they lose their power over you. Second principle, observe before you move. Silence gives you data. Most people rush into action without seeing the whole picture. They fight enemies that don't exist and argue against emotions instead of ideas. But if you can stay still long enough, you'll start to see patterns. You'll hear the motive behind the words. You'll see where the leverage really lies. In negotiation, the first to speak reveals their position. In arguments, the one who explains too much exposes insecurity. Observation is Machiavellian warfare. It's how you win without fighting. The most strategic leaders say little, listen more, and act only when the outcome is already decided. Think of silence as a mirror. The longer you hold it, the more truth reflects back at you. You'll start to see who's playing games and who's genuine. And more importantly, you'll see where you've been fooling yourself. Third principle, be unpredictable. Predictability is the death of influence. When people know how you'll react, they start controlling you. But silence makes you unreadable. It keeps others guessing. They don't know if you're angry, indifferent, or planning something greater. That uncertainty forces respect. It also breaks emotional manipulation, because manipulators feed on patterns. Silence starves them. Mystery creates presence. When you don't explain every feeling or thought, people start to imagine what's behind your quiet. And their imagination often paints you stronger than you actually are. That's perception, one of Machiavelli's greatest tools. He knew that in power, appearance can be more influential than truth. Practicing strategic silence doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means choosing depth over noise. It's not isolation, it's intention. You can be kind, empathetic, and still firm in your silence. Because true empathy doesn't mean constant access, it means measured presence. You give your energy when it has purpose, not when it's demanded. In relationships, this changes everything. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. You stop reacting to manipulation disguised as love. The moment you become comfortable with silence, you break free from emotional dependence. You no longer fear disconnection because your peace no longer depends on others. In leadership, silence earns respect. Teams follow those who don't panic. In conflict, silence disarms aggression. In life, silence centers you in a world addicted to noise. And here has the truth most people don't want to hear. Mastering silence takes practice. You'll fail at first. You'll break it out of habit, out of fear, out of the need to fill the void. That's okay. Awareness is progress. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you rewire your mind toward strength. Strategic silence is not emptiness, it's focus. It's the weapon you use when words have lost their meaning. The space between what happens and how you respond is where your power is reborn. So next time someone provokes you, pause, breathe, remember who you are, let them talk, let them burn their energy trying to read you. And when you finally decide to speak or act, do it with precision. One word, one movement, one decision, delivered from silence, will have more impact than 1,000 explanations. That's the art of Machiavellian restraint. Not manipulation, not arrogance, but mastery. Now I want to hear from you. What is one moment in your life where holding your silence gave you more power than speaking ever could? Share it in the comments. I read everyone. And if this message hit you somewhere deep, you already know that silence you're hearing right now, it's your own awakening. Real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't roar, it doesn't explain, it doesn't chase validation. It simply enters a room and the noise dies. I didn't understand that until I learned to value stillness more than approval. When you stop needing to be seen, you become impossible to ignore. For most of my life, I thought power was about volume, about being the loudest in the argument, the most assertive in the crowd, the one who always had a comeback ready. But that kind of power is brittle. It depends on others listening. When the attention fades, so does the illusion. The kind of strength Machiavelli admired lives deeper. It's quiet, it's steady, it doesn't demand, it commands. Silence terrifies people because it removes their control. When you no longer react, others can no longer define you. They can't predict your next move, can't read your emotions, can't pull you into their chaos. Your silence becomes a mirror they can't escape. It forces them to confront their own noise, their own insecurity, their own weakness. That's why the moment you stop being available, everything changes. But silence doesn't just shift relationships, it transforms you. You begin to notice things that once flew past your awareness. The tone behind people, words, the motives beneath their actions, the quiet energy that separates truth from performance. You stop trying to fix everyone, and instead, you start mastering yourself. That's when real power begins. Machiavelli never told us to be cold. He told us to be clear, to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. And the truth is this: the world respects those who need nothing from it. The less you seek validation, the more valuable your presence becomes, because detachment is magnetic. It's not indifference, it's self-sufficiency. There's a kind of silence that can't be faked. It comes only after you've faced yourself, your fears, your anger, your insecurities, and made peace with them. When the war inside you ends, you stop fighting outside battles. You become a storm contained in human form, and people feel that. They can't name it, but they sense it. That's what I mean by the silence that terrifies. It's not menace, it's mastery. It is the kind of presence that doesn't need to defend itself, because it already owns the space it occupies. It's the calm that unsettles those still enslaved by their impulses. So the next time you feel the urge to prove your worth, stop. Take a breath. Let the silence speak for you. The ones meant to understand will hear it clearly. The rest were never listening anyway. Because power isn't ifeokrats about how much noise you make, It is about how much noise you can quiet. When your silence can disarm conflict, when your calm can lead others, when your restraint can move mountains, that's when you've become dangerous in the purest way. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and warriors in history all understood this truth. Strength that doesn't depend on reaction is the only kind that lasts. Loud power fades with attention. Silent power echoes long after you've left the room. So here's my challenge to you. Practice it. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. When someone tests you, pause. When life pressures you, breathe. Don't shrink back and don't lash out. Just hold. The silence you choose today will become the authority you carry tomorrow. Real strength doesn't scream. It whispers, and the world bends to listen. If something inside you shifted while listening to this, don't let it fade. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, so you'll be the first to receive the next video that will push you deeper into self-mastery. And tell me in the comments, what part of this truth hit you hardest? Your reflection might be the spark that wakes someone else up.